This chapter is all about type and its relationship to Adobe Illustrator. Now, we all type on computers. At least I'd make a guess we probably all do. I use Microsoft Word. I love it. It's a great word processor, but it's not a typesetter. And that's what Illustrator is. What does that mean? More control. We're going to start by looking at type and the difference between container and point type. There is a difference, and there's a reason why I use one over another. We're going to create custom type containers. How would you like to put text in a circle or any shape you want? We're going to talk about that. We're going to put text on straight and curved paths. We're going to look at the character and the paragraph panels. We're going to save our very own styles so we can use them over and over again. We'll look at threading text, putting it between two boxes. We're going to look at text and, believe it or not, the eyedropper tool and how you can use the eyedropper tool to paste attributes from text. We're going to put text on a circle. We're going to convert text into outlines so we can do, well, anything we want with it. And we're going to finish up with a brand new tool called the Text Touch-Up tool. All that in this chapter, it's about text. Let's go. In this chapter, we're going to handle text in Adobe Illustrator. Now, before you go, well, it's going to be kind of boring for a chapter, isn't it? It isn't. Because number one, we're talking about Adobe Illustrator, and I don't think there's anything boring in this program. And number two, when we're talking about what this program can do to text, you can do anything you've ever dreamed of to text, and maybe a few things you haven't dreamed of yet. Now, before we get started, let me show you my setup. I'm working in pointcontainer.ai. That's in your working folder if you want it. And number two, up to this point in what we have done in these lessons, if you're kind of following along, and I do recommend that because I kind of teach in building blocks, we've been using the Essentials workspace, haven't we? And I'll tell you what, come over here to this button and click it. We do have a typography space that is dedicated just to type. Select it if you want to. And now we have all things type. Now, before we get started, let me give you what I consider to be a definition of the applications out there that handle letters of the alphabet, word processors and typesetters. Adobe Illustrator falls into the category of typesetter, which means you can do anything you want, micromanage the text like crazy. Word processors are simpler applications, but I only use the word simple in respect to programs like typesetters, because I'm talking about as word processors, Microsoft Word, WordPerfect. Those are not simple programs, please. But in terms of how you type, they are more predictive. Anybody out there start with a regular typewriter? I mean a traditional see in the museum kind of thing today, because a lot of people don't even have those anymore. I did. I started out when my dad gave me one, and I started working on it. I graduated to an IBM Selectric, which was an electric typewriter, which was like really cool. And then I went into computers. I understand the process of using one. There are similarities in how we handle text, but computers really help us out here. But if you think about things like a word processor, when you start typing, basically it kind of does things for you. It goes down to the next line when you reach the end of that particular row. It creates a new page if you need a new page. These programs, typesetters, they rely on you to understand what you're doing and create things as you move along. Now, if you're planning on a large document with lots of text, Adobe Illustrator is not the program for that. Although it will manage text that way, we work on an artboard, not pages. These are artboards. But if you are looking for an application that can do large documents like books, hundreds of pages, add graphics, all kinds of crazy stuff, click one button and either send it to print, send it to a publisher, or even publish it out on iTunes. My absolute favorite program for that is InDesign. You've got to try that program out. And there are a lot of similarities between InDesign and Illustrator. So if you know Illustrator, you're kind of halfway there. Now let's do this. Let's pick up the type tool here. See it right there? If you click and hold, you get all these different types of tools. Now the only one we're going to work with right now is the type tool in this lesson. We're going to talk about the difference between container text and point text over here. So that's the only one we really need for now. But we will go through these and talk about them. And here's a brand new one, Touch Type Tool. It allows you to actually transform text either by character or by word or whatever and still remain live text. You don't have to convert it to outlines. Pretty cool. Let's go to the Type tool. Okay. Now notice the cursor has a square around it. Actually, technically, I guess that's a rectangle. And that means you are beginning or starting a new point text area or container text. Let's start with point text. Come over here and just click. Now when you click, you are setting the left boundary for the typing, or it will begin to type. Obviously, we can move that anywhere we want to later. Cursor's blinking, ready for me to go. Up here, it's telling me, if you want, I'm using Myriad Pro. You don't want to, choose a font. Now you will see your fonts up there, not mine. It's regular. Check out all those styles. It's amazing. All those different things, italics and everything. And over here, it's saying it's 14 point. Now that's not default. Default's 12. But the last thing I did while I was practicing for this lesson is I did some typing and I changed that to 14. So it remembers that. It remembers the last thing you did. But that's document specific. If I close Illustrator down, open up a new document, it would say Myriad Pro regular 12 point. 12's the default. You got options over here for paragraphs, aligning, transform. Let's just come down here and click again and start typing. The quick brown fox jumped over the lazy dogs. Now the next word or the last word in that sentence is back. All the letters of the alphabet. The quick brown fox jumped over the lazy dog's back. I want back on the next line down. But we're dealing with point text. Point text does not recognize the right margin. The right margin is controlled like traditional typewriters, and I'm talking about you have to use the carriage return to get down to the next line. If I continue typing, that line would remain and stay there even though I looped around the planet 3 times. So I have to understand, I have to watch it just like a typewriter and press the return key. Now that's return key on a Macintosh and enter in Windows. Same keys, different frustrating names, and I go down to the next line and finish the sentence. Period. The quick brown fox jumped over the lazy dog's back. So one of the things about point text is that you decide when it goes down to the next line. And there are many times where you might want that to happen. That's not the only thing about point text, but that's one. You have to decide the carriage return. Now, let's talk about container text. If I come over here, notice the I-beam looks like an I-beam and it doesn't have a little box around it. Now the reason for that is it still thinks I'm typing over on the other side, and if I begin typing, even if I click over here, it's still going to type over there. So what do? Hold down the Control key in Windows, Command key on a Mac, and click one time. Now, you see the little box around it? Now watch this. If I come over here, see the box go away? If I click, I'm back over there again. But if I click anywhere else, I start a new area. But I don't want point text, do I? I want container text. Now here's the difference. Instead of clicking, get where you want the text to start in the upper left and click and drag. You're defining the boundaries for your text, the area, if you will, that it will go in. Now later on you'll see that doesn't have to be a square. It can be anything you want it to be. My cursor is obediently up in the upper left-hand corner waiting for me to type something. So let's type something here. Now is the time for all good men to come to the aid of their country. The difference being I did not press the return key, enter key on a Windows system, return on Mac, to get down to the next line because this defined what's called a soft return. That was a hard return. That's a soft return. So I can still control these margins. Now let's do this. Let me select this text. That's click and a drag, or Control A would do the same thing. Edit copy, or Control, and that's Control in Windows, Command on a Mac C. Come to the end right there and paste it. And I'll use the shortcut. That's Control on Windows, Command on a Mac V, as in victory. Man, I can type fast, can't I? Okay, it's following the margins. It's doing a very good job of putting the text within the container text that I define. If I did the same thing on the other side, it wouldn't work. It would keep going and going and going and going. Now, a couple of other things about working with container versus point. If I come over here, let's pick up our regular selection tool, which allows us to control the box or control over here, either one. If I come over here and say change the margin, the text will be more than glad to reformat itself to fit the new margin. If I come over here, this little button right here is new. If I double click on that button, it will convert the container text into point text, or vice versa. I'll show you that over on the other side, just by double clicking on that button. But if I go to a corner, notice the text isn't changing. The container is changing. The thing about container text is I can put the text into anything that I want to put it into, but the text will remain as it was, left to right, and the margins will be determined by the container it's in, circle, square, whatever it is. Let me undo that twice and get it back. I like undo. Let's come over here. Now, if I click on this one, watch what happens when I come over here and rotate it, for example. The text actually will rotate. That didn't happen over here. What if I resize the box? Might come over here and grab. Now watch the text. It stretches the text. Let me undo that. If I decide that I started with point text and I really don't want that, I want container text. Instead of going through the menus and getting to it, the new feature, all you gotta do is double click. And you are now in container text with all the rights and privileges of a container. Now, if I come back over here real quick and I take this box, see this little box down here first, this little white little box down here, that's called the overset box. And if I come over here and do this, notice it changes to a little plus sign. I don't know if you can see that or not, but that's a plus sign. That means there is more text than it can show me because I've reduced the size of the container. If I attempt to print this now, I've got a problem because that text won't print. But if you attempt to print this document, you will get a warning saying that you have overset text. Now, don't ignore that warning because it means it's not going to print all of the text. If I pull that down again, we'll talk later about how we deal with that. But if I take that down again, you'll see it will go away if I've got enough room. Now, that line won't print, obviously. It will look more like that. So container text controls the margins of the text in the area that you're typing. You can change the margins and it will reformat the text. You can even rotate it and the text stays the same. It just takes on the new margins based on the container. In point text, well, it kind of does its own thing, doesn't it? It will go on and on and on until you press the return key to take it down, enter key on a Windows system, return on Mac. And when you maneuver it or manipulate it, it basically changes the format of the text itself. Big difference between the two, but one of the new features, which I love, is just double-clicking here to go from one to the other. Container text, point text. Go into your working folder and open up a document with the name of areatext.ai. In this lesson, we're going to talk about text in an area. Now, technically speaking, we've already done this. We picked up this tool right over here, the typing tool, in the previous lesson, and we made a box and we put text in it. Although I called it container text, which it is, it's actually area text. We have a tool for that. But why? Well, here's the difference. With the type tool, we come over here, we click, we drag, we go in the box, we type. But the container itself will always be a rectangle or a square, okay? With the area type tool, this one, basically you have to have a shape already made that you're planning on converting into area type, which opens up the door to anything we want to draw. So let's do this. Let's come over here. In my layers panel, I have two layers, background and work area. This is locked right now. Unlock it. Click right here and then select background. Pick up your ellipse tool and hold the Alt key down and draw from center like that, okay? Something like that. Now we're working in the typography workspace. So my graphic styles are actually over here now. And if I click, and this is document specific, if you are in the area text working file, you will see some different options down here that I added. And one is this one right here. Go ahead and click it. Kind of makes it look like a big old squish, doesn't it? Let's close that down. Lock background and go back to work area, unlocked. Pick up your ellipse tool again and draw me an ellipse inside of that area that you want the text to be in. So I can get right about here, I suppose. I could hold the Alt key if I want to do this from center, which I do, and just kind of draw out. I'm not quite at center, but I'll deal with that in a second. Okay, I'm going to stop right there. Don't really worry about what it looks like here. That's fine. But if you click this button right here, it will take it to default. You don't really have to do that, but we did. I'm going to pick up my Move tool, and I'm going to put it where I want it to be, and maybe use my arrow keys a little bit too. That's where I want the text to be. So that is my container, not the squish in the background, that. So I come over here, and I pick up my Area Type tool. Notice it has a circle around it, meaning an area. Understand you have to click on the path. not inside. You have to click on the path. So you get on the path, touch it, and click, watch what happens. The reason I'm not putting text inside the squish is because if I did, the squish would go away. When you define an area for text and then put text in it, whatever the shape was is gone. It becomes invisible and only becomes a path to hold. Now, I've already typed in something so I can copy and paste it, make it a little bit faster. And it's the quick brown fox jumped over the lazy dog's back. And if I do a copy paste a couple of times, you'll see it's putting it in there and it's using the boundaries defined by the oval. Now it is going in nice and pretty. Let's go ahead and finish that off. And I'm using paste, which is Control V or Command V on a Mac, Control V in Windows, and moving and just putting it right in like this. Now notice it is left justified. I don't really want it left justified. In an oval, it might be better, I suppose, if it were centered. So if I get into the text, that should all be one huge paragraph. If I get into the paragraph options up here and center, I think that would probably look better if it were centered. And let's go ahead and come back down here again. That will collapse on its own. And do a couple more pastes and say we'll stop right about there. Notice that when I deselect, the text is indeed inside that area. If I come over to it, well, I could change it. I could make it maybe a little bit taller. I could bring it in, maybe hold the Alt key down and bring it in on either side if that's something I want to do. And the text will reformat itself based on that particular area. So we're using a very wonky kind of shape in the background, using a graphic style, and then using another text box on top or a container to put the text in. Now let's do this. Let's go ahead and delete that. Let's unlock background and delete that. Come over here and pick up your ellipse again. Give me one more ellipse here, actually two. I get hung up on one shape, I know that. I'm going to get right about here. I'm going to draw another shape, maybe like that. Yeah, that's not too bad. Let me go ahead and go into my Move tool, and I'm going to select both of these right here. I'm going to go up to the Align option. I just love these options up here because they're always kind of intuitive on what you need. I'm going to go to Align here and make sure that they are aligned left and right. So they need to be kind of aligned just a little bit. And now they're that way. I want them together as one piece, and I want to put text inside of that shape. Now, we could go to the Pathfinder panel and use Unite, but don't forget, they're both selected. This tool over here, and that's the Shape Builder tool. Remember what it does? If I just drag across these until they're all selected, it will combine or unite them. Looks like a real wonky acorn, I guess. Anyway, if I do something, here's the problem. If I now convert that into area type, you're not going to have that background. As a matter of fact, I don't like that background. Let's do this. Let's select it and go over here to our graphic styles again. And let's choose that one right there. Why not? Yeah, let's go ahead and turn that off. The problem again is if I make it into area type, all that goes away. So here's the trick. I'm going to go up the word edit, and I'm going to tell the computer I want to copy this thing. Edit copy or Command or Control C. Now let's lock down the background. I like my text in a separate layer. Go back to work area. Don't just say paste. Say paste in place. Now it looks exactly the same, but it's right on top, so that's cool. Now pick up the area type tool and get on the edge, on the path, and click. Now, it was kind of hard to see, but it went away. It's now invisible. And I'll do some pasting again. I like being able to paste. And let's go ahead and go back to a selection tool. My problem is it's following the shape. And the shape is indeed down here that we see. That one's invisible. But it's too close to the edges for what I want. Now, there's a couple of ways that we can deal with this, but the easiest way to try up front is just shrink the box on top and let it reformat. So if we come over here and pick up our selection tool and select that box, I'm going to go to a corner and hold the Alt key, and that's the Option key on a Mac, Alt in Windows, and the Shift key. So it draws it in or out from center. And notice the text will get bigger if I do this. Let's stop right there. Well, there you go. A simple way to create a shape and then put text within the body of the shape by using a copy of the shape and then using that for the outline for the area text. In your working folder, you have a document called pathtype.ai. Find that and open it up. In the previous lesson, we put text inside of a container, and actually when you think about it, that's pretty cool because we can make any shape, either the shape drawing tools or a pen tool, Make anything you want and put text inside of it, but what if I don't want it inside? What if I want it around it? Type on a path. Now we have a tool that does just that, but we have to have a path first. And since I've been kind of heavy on the ellipses, I'm going to change and do a circle. Pick up this tool right here. I'm going to hold down the Shift key and the Alt key, that's the Option key on a Mac, Alt in Windows, and draw a perfect circle out from center. I want text on that. No problem. It's actually almost as easy as doing it inside of the container as opposed to on the outside. Come over here and pick up your third tool in a row, Type Area, type on a path. Now these three right here do the exact same thing as these three right here, except they type vertically instead of horizontally. Type on path is what we want selected. Come over here, click on that path. That's got to be on the path. Everything goes away. It's in a sense invisible. I do have my Quick Brown Fox inside of my clipboard memory, so let me paste that in. Command V on a Mac, Control V in Windows. And there it is. The Quick Brown Fox jumped over the lazy dog's back one more time. Now watch what happens if I come over and pick up my selection tool and make that box smaller. The text stays in proportion to the image and gets smaller. Obviously, if I go the other way, it'll get bigger. Now we can also pick up our direct selection tool and influence the circle on a point-by-point basis. So if I come over here and click on that point, say right there, and pull it down, well, I can change how the text interacts with that path. And of course, if we deselect it, it will go like that. It'll be invisible. So it's kind of like the Quick Brown Fox jumped over the lazy dog's back and is falling off a cliff. Let's go ahead and do this. Let's get rid of that one. Let's do this again. We have a few more features I want to show you. Let's pick up the pen tool. I'm going to click and drag right about here, and click and drag right about here. Make yourself something like that. Don't worry about what that looks like. Path tool, and click where you want the text to start. Again, I'll cheat and paste it in with a Control or Command V, and I can really type fast. One more time, the Quick Brown Fox is jumping over the lazy dog's back. Now, if we go to our selection tool, you will notice there are two white boxes on either end, and those are overflows. Well, if I have the text and it's longer than the path, and I want to put some of the text on another adjoining path, that's called threading, you could do it using those overflows. We'll talk about that in another lesson in this chapter. But you have three other options here, and this is also true of the circle. Okay, we just didn't do it there. You have a small little point right here, a little modifier right there. That's the left margin. The right margin is over here in front of that box, and you have this one other one right here. See it right there? It's right in the center. Let's start with this one, the left margin. Now watch for something, that. When you see the line with the right arrow, you're on it. Go ahead and click, and, well, move the margin. This one here will do the same thing. If we keep going this way, again, I waited for that little arrow pointing to the left. If I finally do that, I get into overflow, which means I could have another line down here, another path, and put the rest of the text down there. Let's go ahead and pull that back. Again, wait for that, and pull it back. The one in the middle controls both the left and the right margins at the same time. So if I grab it and move it, as you can see, it moves both. But there is one more thing you can do with that line right there. If you click it and pull down, you can put the text on the other side. Sometimes when you've got a circle and you want the text on the inside or the outside of the circle, that's nice to know. In or out. Just like type in a container, if you can draw the line, you can put the text on the line. So far in this chapter, we've looked at text. We have put it on things, in things, around things, point text, container text. But up to this point, we haven't really formatted text. So let's talk about in this lesson using character and paragraph formatting techniques. And we have a lot of stuff we can do to text because this is a typesetting application. Now, I am in characterparagraph.ai in your working folder if you want to follow along. I'm also in, don't forget, the typography workspace. Okay? I'm going to come over here. There's character and there's paragraph. Let's start with character. I'll drag that out so we can see it. Now, anytime you click this button and it says show, you should click it. So you get more stuff this way. What do? Well, if we come over here, understand something, let me pick up my type tool, that might help. If I come over here and select in here, one of the things about formatting with characters is the character must be selected in order for you to format it. You can't change anything without having something selected. So I might come over here and say, well, I want to change that heading that says Adobe Illustrator. So I select that, and then I can come over here and, do whatever I want to do. But there is a way around that if you're doing something global. I mean, I can get in here and press Control A. That's Control A in Windows, Command A on a Mac, and I'm globally changing. But if I come over here and click on my selection tool and just make sure I have this area selected with the selection tool, not the text tool, I can come over here and make changes, and the changes will be applied to every single thing inside that container. Myriad Pro, I might or might not want that font, but I don't for this. That's the default. If I click here, I can go in and choose a different font. But let's say you're like me and you have more fonts than you have time to try to look for them. And you're looking for a particular font and you know the name of the font that you're looking for. Like maybe you want Anna right here. Okay, well, I know where it is. I just picked it up, right? Or maybe you want something else. You just don't know where it is. You know it's alphabetical, but you just don't want to go through that. What you want to remember is you can come up here and type it in. Now here is a new feature. If you click here, you can search for the first word only or search the entire font name. So if I say font name and come up here and start typing in Anna, there it is. If I press the return key, that's the enter key on a Mac, I've set it, I've changed it to Anna. It's a very quick, down and dirty way to find the font that you want. Now, there's another way to do that, and that's with programs that control what kind of fonts you're working with. What I use is a program called Suitcase. I'll just mention that really quick. Suitcase is a font management program that actually turns off any fonts that I'm not using at that time and can turn them on later if I want to bring them back. To me, I kind of like that. Let's go to this one right here. Again, it's global. Changes everything because I didn't have the text selected with the type tool. I had this tool selecting the container. The font I'm happy with. But now I want to get into working individually with the text in the fonts themselves. So if I come over here and pick up my type tool, or just double click in here, let's say I want to change Adobe Illustrator. That's a subheading. It should be bigger, maybe bold, something like that. Now I want to stay in that font, but if I click here, that's the style. If I click here, it shows me the different styles. Like there's a bold italic. Kind of like that. I think I'll use that one. I want it bigger. So I can come here. I can either choose a number, I can type a number in, or I can use the up and the down arrow keys to change it that way too. So I'm going to set that one at 14 points. Now over here you have something called leading. Leading is the amount of space between the actual lines. And it's determined 150 years ago. That's when they decided what good leading would be. And good leading is something like 120% of the font size. Now I have to select, don't forget. But if I select all of this text, watch what happens when I change the leading. It's 14.4 by default with 12 point. If I go, say, to 28 or somewhere around there, it just puts more space between the lines. Now, if I decide to go back to 14.4 and I actually type that number in, it becomes locked to 14.4. If I click Auto, notice what happens when I change the font size. It changes automatically. But if you don't see those little parens around it right there, that's not an auto number. That's a solid number, so you want to be careful. Let's take that back to 12. Actually, technically speaking, the new reading size for fonts is 11, if you want to know. Over here, we have the ability to kern and track. Now, kerning is the space between individual letters. That's micromanaging the text. I want more space just between those two letters. Tracking is like for whole words. So I want Adobe Illustrator. Let's select all of that. Now watch it when I increase tracking. I get more space between all the letters proportionately. It might help to attract people's attention to it. Over here, we can change the vertical scale. Literally change how tall it is, distort it. Over here, we can change the horizontal scale. Literally change how wide it is by distorting it. Over here, we can set baseline shift. So if I select the word students, for example, and I want that word raised up a little bit, I can click here on baseline shift and make it higher or lower. Over here, we can rotate the characters. So I'll leave students selected again. And as I click this button, it begins rotating the characters to the point. See what it's doing? I don't want that, but that's an interesting effect. Let's go ahead and take that back to 0. Let's go back up here and select this stuff up here. You can do all caps. I like small caps. I think they're kind of neat. Let's go ahead and do those. You have superscript and subscript, which raises the text and lowers its font size proportionately, or the other way around. You can underline it. You can strike through it. Now, I'm from the United States. When I do spell check, it's in English USA. But if I, for example, were in the UK, I would go into English UK. Every year, they're adding more and more languages for spell checking. That's actually pretty cool. Now, let's stop there for a second. Let's go ahead and go into typography and say reset. That just means take that character palette and put it back over there for me. Let's look at paragraph. The main difference between paragraphing and characters is that in paragraph control, when you're formatting the text, all you have to do is be in the paragraph. You don't have to have anything selected. For example, if I click in this paragraph, I'm going to do 1, 2, 3. 3 clicks, you get a paragraph. I don't have to do that. All I have to do is be in the paragraph between this character turn, where we went down to that line, and that character turn, where we went down to this line. So I can be in that paragraph and center, left justify, right justify. We can justify. Notice how the text kind of forms an edge here and here. That's considered more formal. You can then change the last line in a paragraph to center, to right, or force justify everything. Let's go back to justify with just the last line. Now, let me go down to this paragraph, show you something. You can push in the margins, left and right indent. So you're doing a pull quote maybe. You might want to push it in like that. Let's go ahead and also make that paragraph justified so you can see that better. As you can see, it's pushing it in this way and that way. Let me go ahead and take that back down again so we have a little room to work here. You can indent the first line of every paragraph by selecting that paragraph and pushing it in. You can change the spacing before and after a paragraph. Say, for example, we need more space between multiple artboards, which is another heading. We haven't changed it yet, but it's another heading. And we want more space between that and this paragraph up here. So we select multiple artboards, or actually get in that paragraph. Technically, that is a paragraph. And then we say space before right here, and we push it down. Now, if you would want some space after, you could do the same thing, but do this. Kind of isolates it, helps the eye to see it, gives it more attention. So character and paragraph formatting are actually pretty straightforward in how we do it. And if you use Microsoft Word, a lot of this really isn't a big deal. You've been doing it for years. You can just do more in a typesetting program. Now, we've done some things up here. What about changing multiple artboards to the same thing we did up here? Changing how we changed this paragraph and changing it down to this one down here. That's styles, and we're going to get into those in the next lesson. In your working folder, you have a document called characterparagraphstyles.ai. Go ahead and open that if you want to follow along. Hope you do. In the previous lesson, we worked on formatting. To most people, I would think offhand, it's probably not that big of a deal. I mean, there are some very minute kind of things you can do to formatting, but changing the font, justification, using a style like bold, bold italic, underline, whatever, is probably not that big of a deal because we've done things like that in programs like WordPerfect, Microsoft Word, TextEdit, Photoshop, okay, InDesign, and in Illustrator. What I don't like to do, however, is do something more than once. If I create a style, I don't have to do it more than once. And believe me, all programs, even Photoshop now, has styles. So let's talk about over on the left. I've done the formatting of the text. That took me about 10 minutes maybe. That's 10 minutes, okay? 10 minutes of my life, and I don't want to spend another 10 minutes over here doing the same thing. Looking at that to say, now what did I do over there? Did I make it 2 points bigger? How much did I bend that text over rolling the text? Did I do this? Did I do that? No, we're going to make styles. Now, if you are in the typography workspace, they're right down here. Character and paragraph styles. Let's bring both out. Characters. Now I'm going to bring paragraph styles out, and I'm going to touch up here. And when it goes transparent like that, we did this earlier, it will lock them together. This is the same text on both sides. This has been very meticulously and carefully formatted. This isn't yet. So we're going to make the styles based on the formatting, and then we're going to apply them. So, for example, this is a paragraph style. This is a paragraph style. So is this and this. Now, the only actual character style, it's not that big of a deal, is this right here. So let's start with the paragraph styles. Pick up your type tool. All you got to do is touch inside Adobe Illustrator, just right in there, because that technically is a paragraph. Go into paragraph styles, click new right here. Now, whatever one you've started on, I've worked on some other documents. That's why it says 4. Yours will probably say paragraph style 1. Doesn't matter. Double click on it right here. Give it a name. Now, that's a subheading, so we're going to call that subheading 1. I usually have more than one. This down here is my body text. Incidentally, notice we have a normal and a normal down here. Those are there by default. If you were to click on normal, character, or paragraph style while you had something over here selected, it would revert it back to the normal default styles for Illustrator. So we're not going to touch that button. Here's our body text in here. I've justified it. I've indented below it. I put in a first line indent up here. I like that. So just get in that paragraph somewhere and click the new button again and double click paragraph style 5, in my case 5, and type in body text. Now I usually have more than one type of body text, so I'm going to call that body text 1. Okay, down here is another one. That's indented on both sides, top and bottom. So I'm going to click inside there. Oh, notice the plus sign too. Let me show you that. That means that is normal paragraph text that doesn't have a style applied to it, but it's been changed. That's what the plus sign means. Don't click that button. Come down here and click new again. We'll call it indent. Now, I would suggest if you're like me and you do a lot of styles, that you want the names very descriptive. Body text 1, 2, and 3 probably doesn't mean a whole lot, so you want to give them names that really make sense. Those are the paragraph styles. Now, we have a character style right up here. So let's click up there. Now, you can select it if you want, but you really don't have to. If you want to apply it at the same time, you can, though. And we come up here. That's character style. Click here. We say character style 1 for you, but come in here and we'll call that bold italic. Okay, that's it. Now, let's move over here. Put that right about there so we can see what we're doing. That is a subhead 1. Click here. Subhead 1. So is this. Subhead 1. This is our body text right in here. This is body text down here. This right here and this one, they're two separate paragraphs, is indent. You could have done them both at the same time if you want to. Okay, now, character styles, you have to select for that. Adobe Illustrator is a bold italic, and so is it down here. There you go. I used the same text so you could see it did come out exactly the same. Took me, like I said, about 10 minutes over here. It took us about, 20 seconds over here. This program is document specific. If I open up a new document, those things won't be there, and I want to use them in another document. So that can, in a sense, be frustrating, but actually it isn't, because there's a very easy way to get them. If you go to this button right here and you click it, one of your options is Load Character Styles. Now, if you select that option, it is going to ask you for an Adobe Illustrator document name. Like this one is character paragraph styles.ai. If you had a new document open and you chose it, when you opened it, basically it wouldn't open this document. It would populate your character styles with any styles that were in that cool thing. And do the same thing for paragraph styles. Now, beside the fact that it's a quick, easy way to do things, the other reason is it's perfectly consistent because it knows exactly how you made it in the first place and you're not leaving anything out. And the third thing to me is the ability to experiment. Let me move this over here. Well, let's say for the sake of argument that your editor comes in and your editor says, well, actually, we kind of like that, Andy, but you're using the wrong color for your subheading, or you're using the wrong font, or it needs to be bigger. Think of anything you can do to text, okay? It needs to be X. And you say, well, you need to change that color, but, I've got quite a few of those subheadings. So that means I'm going to have to go to them one at a time and change them. Now, if you did that, they wouldn't have styles. One of the other advantages to styles is the ability to change them globally. So let's just do that one. We need a different color. It shouldn't be blue. Now, that's our subheading 1, which is right over here. Double click on it right here. Actually, don't let me do that. Here's the thing to remember. If you have something selected, it will actually change what you had selected before you have a chance to actually double click. So you can do this just to prove a point. I'm going to go over and pick up my selection tool and get out of everything. You don't have to have anything selected. Now, double-click on subheading 1. In subheading 1 are all the things that you can do to a font. Everything, including character color. Let me move that down just a little bit. We got the preview on. You say, well, it's supposed to be red. You say, you're kidding me, right? No, it's supposed to be red. Well, if you click here, turn red up here, turn red over here. Let me go ahead and click OK. Turn red down there. Styles, to me, I really do like them. We can move them between documents. We can use them to make things go very fast. We can use them for consistency because they'll always be the same thing when you click. And if we need to make a global change, if we change it, it will change everywhere that style has been used. Character and paragraph styles. Go into your working folder and open up threading text.ai. Let's talk about something that's actually pretty easy to do, to be honest with you, but it's kind of important to know you can do it, and that's threading text between separate containers. Now, we've got some text on the left, and we have the dreaded little plus sign down here, which basically means offset text. There is more text in here than can be displayed. If you try to print, it will warn you. Now, our options might be to reduce the amount of text. I've had editors actually ask me to do that for magazine articles where they only have so much room. And they say, well, Andy, you got to take out this or you got to take out a paragraph. You decide what you want to take out, but we have to reduce it by X. And that's all right. But let's say we don't have that problem because we have more space over here. Now, there are a couple of ways that we can accomplish this. One would be the way we have it now. There is no container over there to put it in, but that's no problem. Click in that box right here, and you get to type gun. Now, click and drag over here to define the area that the offset text is going to go into, and there you go. It's over there. Now, if I come over here to prove a point and pick up my type tool, I did that by double-clicking, and you can see it flows. But that's not all. Let's do this. Go back to our selection tool and scrunch this area up. Make sure you only have that one box selected. And let's go up to about here. All right, why'd I do that? Well, I need a photograph over here, and I want the rest of the text to flow here. I need another box. You can keep this up all day long. Click here again, and come down about here, and drag like that. Now, although the boxes are connected, deleting a box doesn't delete the text. So if I come up to this one, which is in the middle, and delete it, the text then went from this one directly to this one. So if I pull this box up here again, well, we're kind of back to where we started. Text flowing through threading. Now let's say, while we're here, that you want the box that's over there, but you don't want to connect it to the box that's over on the left. You don't want to delete the box and make a new box and just don't thread them. Do this. Double click right here in that box. You've broken the thread. Now this one has a problem again because we have the overset or offset text, but this one is a standalone text box. Let's do this. Let's go ahead and get rid of this one. What if you already have a box over there that you want to use? And let's do that. Let's pick up actually one of our shapes, like maybe a rounded rectangle, and come over here and begin drawing. Now, don't forget the up and down arrow keys. While you're drawing, control the edges, and the left and right arrow keys go from minimum to maximum. And let's go maximum just so we can see something going on here. And we want the text to go into that shape, which at this point is not for text. Doesn't matter. Pick up your selection tool, come down here and click on that little button, and come in here and click. Same thing happens. It doesn't matter if you make the box from scratch. It doesn't matter if you have something existing in the form of a shape that you want to use. Threading text is an excellent way to break a document up and maybe intersperse it with images or whatever you want to do. In this lesson, let's explore the relationship of text in Adobe Illustrator with, believe it or not, the eyedropper. Now go ahead and open up eyedropper and text.ai. It's in your working folder. Here's the eyedropper over here. Now, if you've ever used the eyedropper in, say, Photoshop, you kind of know what it does. You can come over here and click, and it changes what's called in Photoshop the foreground color, and you use it on something. Or you add it to your swatches palette. You do whatever you want. Here's a photograph. You can, in Adobe Illustrator, take colors even off a photo, and then you use them on something. But in Illustrator, we're primarily working with objects, and there's a lot more power to this tool. Let's just do something simple. I do have some text at the top of the screen, the magical eyedropper. It's in the impact font. And I want to change the stroke and the fill to match another object on my screen. And let's say these samples are, well, objects on my screen. So to get it to change the most efficiently, you could do something like this. Select it first. Now, I already have the eyedropper selected. So I'm going to hold down what I call the temporary selection tool. That's the control key on Windows and the command key on a Mac. And so you get that. Go ahead and click up here and select it. With that selected and the eyedropper chosen, I can come over here and click, and it will change it. Now, the top row are all stroke, as you can see. Even patterns work if you want to use them. The bottom don't have strokes, and you can see that it will remove the stroke. So one of the things that the eyedropper does in Adobe Illustrator is it looks for stroke and fill and will replace both if an item is selected. Now, we haven't gotten into transparency yet, but these are semi-transparent, and it will be more than glad to apply that too. So if the item is selected, clicking on an object will change the stroke and the fill of the particular text that you have selected, even if you want to use something like a color off a photograph. But watch one thing. Watch over here especially. See the stroke? Photographs, rasters, don't have strokes. So if you choose a color off a photograph, that's fine, but it won't bring a stroke in because it doesn't have one. It'll take it off. All the control you want, but that's not all. How does it know to do that? How does it control that? Well, let me show you something. A lot of the tools that we use in Adobe Illustrator, if you double-click, have options. Now, check out these options if I double-click on the eyedropper. Quite a few. Now, the first one I want to mention here is point sample, and that's for raster images. Photographs are made up of little tiny pixels, and a lot of times they're in different color combinations, very small, to show the eye a color it can't produce. So if you do a point sample, you're only clicking on one single pixel. Usually, if I'm taking colors off photographs, I go to a 3-point. 3x3 average, but that's for rasters. Everything else is point sample. Now down here, this is what it picks up. Over here, this is what it applies. Fills, colors, transparencies, overprints. You can say, don't pick something up or don't apply it. So it's up to you to decide what you want to do. By default, they're all on, including character style and paragraph style. So let's do this. Let's get out of here. Now let me turn off, in my layers panel on this particular document, I have all that stuff here, and there's my painting. And let's go to text. Now I've got text in here. Actually, let's turn the colors back on. We could leave them up there. They're okay. It's the same text on the left and the right. On the left, basically, I have some text, and it's been formatted. It's a different color. It's a different font. There's different spacing values, all those different things that we've worked through in this chapter on formatting text. And what I would like to do is apply them. Now, we can apply text or colors. Let me show you something. If I come over here, and I don't have anything selected, so changing or selecting something with the eyedropper here simply fills the eyedropper with the stroke and the fill, and you can see it over here, but it's not changing anything because nothing's selected. Let me go ahead and select that one again because that's nice and bright. If I want to use that stroke and fill on another object, I can do this. If I hold the Alt key down, watch the eyedropper. See how it switches over? That's pull in, that's push out. In other words, if I come to here, hold the Alt key and click, it will change it. So you don't have to have something selected to make that transition. Now remember, when we double-clicked over here, we did have character styles and paragraph styles to be absorbed or picked up and to be applied. So I come over here. Now watch very carefully. See the little T next to the eyedropper? That means you're not only going to pick up things like color, but you will pick up formatting. So if I click, and there's the color, if I want to apply all of that stuff over here, hold down the Alt key. That's the Option key on a Mac, incidentally. Hold down the Alt or Option key and click and watch what happens. It applies everything. So in a program like Photoshop that's raster-based, you're using an eyedropper in a very simple, straightforward way. You're picking up a color. In this program, you're picking up patterns, gradients, colors, strokes, fills, styles, just about anything, and you control what it does simply by double-clicking over here. That's a pretty powerful tool. Go into your working folder and open up typeoncircle.ai. We're going to do two things, actually. We're going to put some text on this circle, and we are going to solve a problem that has plagued humanity since the beginning of time. How in Adobe Illustrator do I put two different kinds of text going, in a sense, almost in two different directions on the same physical path? Now, let's look at what we have first. I have circle text here, and that's just that circle. That's what we're going to use. And I have my stuff in a locked layer down here, and that's what it's going to look like it's on. And let's go back here and make sure it's selected. One way to do this, and there would be nothing wrong with it, I've done it myself many times. 2 circles. One circle, you put the text that you're going to put up here, and one that you're going to put down here. Put them back together, say with a line. But why make 2 circles when you really don't have to? Let's do this. Select the circle. Come over to your scissors tool. Don't forget that's hidden under the eraser. I want you to cut it at this anchor point right here and at this one over here. So now we have 2 semicircles. Instead of taking 2 full circles, we've got 2 semis. We'll put some text on this one and some on this one. Now let's go over here to our type tool and pick up our type on path tool. Now if I come over here, I'm going to click right about, say, there and type in one of a kind, which is what I am. Now I need to select this one down here. I'm going to use my temporary selection tool. When I have another tool selected, I hold down the Control key, and that's Control in Windows, Command on a Mac, temporary selection, and click this one, and then let go, and I'm back to the typing tool. I'll get right about here, I suppose, and type in One of a Kind Productions. That's my company name. Now you can see here that Productions is, well, it's spelled incorrectly, and I hate it when that happens. But it's something you need to watch out for. Adobe Illustrator does have a spell check, but it's not a live spell check, say like Microsoft Word. So be careful when you're using type in Illustrator, and always do a spell check. Next, let's center them, and we can do that actually with the selection tool. And click this one right here, and literally go up to the center right here. Now it will center it to that line, which represents the margins between here and here. So it might not necessarily put it where you'd think it would. And let's center it again here. Okay, now let's actually center it vertically. Let's start up here. This line right here is what you want, that one right there. Now wait until you see that little arrow on the tool and click and drag, and let's put it right there. Let's do the same thing down here. Grab it, wait for that little icon, move it over, but also push up. That's going to put it on the inside. That's where we want it, and I did misspell that, didn't I? Let's worry about that when it gets a little bit bigger. Like I said, I'm the world's worst speller. Okay, so we got that. I want a different font, and I want it bigger, and I need to respell that, obviously. Let's come in here, and let's pick up our just regular selection tool and select the text. And I tell you what, I want a font. It's called Noteworthy. We have Myriad Pro. That's default. Don't forget, if I click here, I can choose to type in a word by its family or its first word only. I know Noteworthy begins with the word note. So I'm going to say search first word only and start typing in N-O-T-E. And I got it on N-O-T. Press the return key on Mac and the enter key in Windows. It's changed. Let's do the same thing down here. Can't believe I misspelled that. And come in here and do it again. Okay, now what I want for size is based on more of a visual thing than a physical number. So let's come back up here. Let's start at the top. And let's select that text. Instead of me choosing a number, I can do that if I want to. I'm going to click the up arrow right here. And every time I do, it'll get a little bit bigger. And I'm going to stop when I'm happy. You can always change it later. Actually, I'm going to go back to 40. Let's do the same thing here. And this time I know what I need, 40, so I can just type it in. Oh yeah, P-R-O-D-U-C-T-I-O-N, Productions. There we go. One of a Kind Productions. That's okay on the inside. This one needs to come on the inside. What do? Well, we can go back to our selection tool and select that 1/2 up here. Go up to the word type on the pull-down menu and go down to type on path. And you will notice you have Rainbow Skew, 3D, Stair-Step, and Gravity. We can get to all of them right from here. So that's Rainbow. Incidentally, Flip is the flipping. Let me turn on preview so you can see this. Okay, that just flips the text. We've already done that down here. That's Rainbow. That's Skew, so it kind of makes the text very vertical. This is 3D Rainbow, kind of spreads it out, I suppose. Stair-Step puts it back together up and down, but it's a little bit tighter, I think. And then you've got Gravity, which kind of melts it off the sides. I'm going to go back to Rainbow. I'm happy with Rainbow. Now, as for aligning, I need to bring it inside here, and that is align to path. I'm going to align it to the ascenders. Now, watch what happens. Well, it pulls it into the ascenders. Now, the ascenders, like on the lowercase letters, are this part right here. Okay, that's in the center and it's inside. It's exactly what I want. Now on this one down here, basically let's go ahead and, well, click OK. There's not really much wrong with that one in terms of what it's doing because it's on the inside, but both of these are still too close. I want them further up. So let's start with this one right here. We're going to use a common character. Let me bring that over. Option. Don't forget to say show options. And we're going to go into baselining. Now down here is baseline shift. If I click the down button, you can see it's shifting the baseline. Now again, I'm looking for something, not a number, about centered, maybe something about like that. Now on this one, select it here and go the other way. Looks a little bit kind of squeezed in down here when I pushed it up. If you want to work on that, if we select the text, we can come over here to do tracking, and that'll help push it apart. And let's do the same thing up here. And I did a 20, so I know what to put in there. There you go. One circle cut in half to produce text on both sides of that circle, top and bottom. Instead of creating two circles, which would have been okay, this way I guess is just a little bit more economical. Text on a circle. Tell you what, for this lesson, let's go new. Let's just do new. Go up the word File on the pull-down menu and go down to New. Now my favorite place to play is Web 960, 560. Pick up the Type tool. Come over here and type a word, anything you want. I'm going to type in the word wow. Now I want a bigger wow than that, and I want a different font. So I'm going to select it. Come over here. I don't want Myriad Pro. Select over here and start typing in Impact. There it is. Press the return key on a Mac and the enter key in Windows. And there it is. It's changed. Now I can change the size of a font without changing its font size. Pick up the Select tool. Come over here. Selection tool, actually. And let's make that bigger. I want a big wow. And of course, we all know that the word wow on its head says mom. Let's go back to wow, at least in my case. Let's give it a different color too, I suppose. Let me go ahead and pick a different color for it. Okay, we're here to talk about envelope distorting and also converting to outlines and why you might want to do that. Because when you convert something to outline, you're losing control of it in terms of it being a font. But it does give you advantages in other areas. Let's start with envelope distorts. We have it selected. We come up here to the word object and go down to envelope distort. And the one we're going to look at is warp, make with warp. Now it starts with an arc, but you've got all kinds of things here you can play around with. Fish, flags, all kinds of things. You can change the bend, change the horizontal and the vertical. Go to fish. Let's see what we can do with that one. That's kind of fun. And let's give it more bend. Maybe a little. Well, let's go this way. Yeah, let's stop there before we get into any more trouble and click OK. Now, the cool thing is it's still text. So you look at it and go, well, it shouldn't be the word wow. It should be the word fish. I guess I would agree with that. Now, we don't have to go back, undo it, and start all over again. But we can't edit the text the way it is now. What we have to do is select it, which it is selected. Go back to the word object and go down to envelope distort and select edit contents. Now, with that done, we can then come over here to the type tool and select it and type in fish. Just like that, or fishy, if you want to. And now we have that. Now we can go back anytime we want to envelope distort and warping and, well, make it something else or further change the fish if you want to. It's up to you. But two other options that we have. Maybe we kind of want to undo this and maybe it's 2 days later. So you select it, you come up to the word object and you go down to envelope distort and you select release. Now watch what happens when you do. You get two things. You get the actual mask that it used to make this distort into the word fish. And incidentally, envelope distorts work with anything, not just text. That's just what we're using. So it used that to make fish, and it gives it to us as a little parting present when it puts fish back into impact font. Let me undo that and put it back together. The other one is we like it, but we're having a problem printing it. Because it is a font that's been distorted, and the math, the way it works, especially with a press, like a 4-color press, is causing havoc. And it's just not working. So what do? Well, you draw it using the pen tool, or it's already there. You go up to the Word object on the pull-down menu, and you go down to Envelope Distort, and you select Expand. That word now is no longer a word. It is an object as if you had drawn it with the pen tool. The advantage to that is simply the fact that things like presses can handle it better now. If you're having trouble with some way that you distorted text, which is fine, I do it all the time, it's kind of fun, but it can't really translate to print as well as you thought it was going to be, you can convert it into an outline. Now, the disadvantage is it's no longer text, okay? If you misspelled it, say, for example, and I'm the worst on that, I can't go back in and change the spelling. I can't change the font that boat has sailed unless I want to press undo, which I just did. But if it's 2 days later, you wouldn't be able to do that. Now, let me go ahead and press undo a couple of times until we get back to the original word wow. There are some things, again, we can still do to text. For example, you can go up to the word effect on the pull-down menu and go into, say, some of these in here. Distort and transform. Pucker and bloat, one of my absolute favorites, at least the names. And we turn on the preview and we can do this to it. Now I can click OK. I can come pick up my type tool right now and change it to another word and it will take on those characteristics. But again, it might be difficult to print it. So you might have to convert it to outlines. Let me go ahead and undo that one more time. What if you don't want to distort it? You don't want to use the envelope and the expand. You just want to turn it into outlines right here. Well, go up to the word type with it selected with your selection tool and go into create outlines. There you go. Now it is no longer text. But if I undo that again, I keep doing that, I know. If I want to have some fun with this, and we did this earlier in another chapter, you do have these options over here, all these crazy things. I'm only going to use one. But if I try to use any of these on text, well, it's going to say I can't because it is text. I have to convert it into something else, an outline. So again, go to the word type and you create outlines. And now say like this one right here. I like this one. It's kind of fun to work with. I call it melting, actually. It begins to melt the text. Kind of fun to do on a spooky Halloween night. So a lot of the features that we have, a lot of the things that we can do to text can be done without actually taking the text into outline form, but that might cause a problem if you're going to print, especially if you're going to a press. And so converting to outline can really help you. The other end is using some of these filters, which are, let's admit, not something you're going to use every single day. But if you need them, they're there. And if you're doing them to text, you have convert to outline. For this lesson, I created a new document. I picked up my type tool and I typed in "the quick brown fox jumped over the lazy dog's back," which happens to be every single letter of the alphabet. So whoever came up with that sentence took the time to put a sentence together that's got all the letters of the alphabet in and actually makes sense. Well, I applaud them. I also have the character panel open up here. We are here to talk about fonts, but not just any old fonts. We're here to talk about Typekit fonts. And when I teach classes at university on things like communication, one of the things we talk about is not just the words. I mean, obviously they're important, but it's the font you use to go with the words. The font will create the mood that you want. And there are thousands of fonts out there. We all have thousands of fonts, but we're always looking for more fonts and fonts that will fit exactly what we're trying to say. It's not just the words. It's the colors, it's the font, it's the family. There are so many things involved in communication. Now, Illustrator is a typesetting application. It does kerning, leading, and all kinds of stuff. But one of the new features that I really do like is the ability to access the Typekit fonts. Now, if you have the Creative Cloud, which obviously you do if you're listening to me and taking these lessons, you have a Creative Cloud account. If we go into my character panel right here, and I click right here, well, I have a lot of fonts. If I want to change this down here, it's obvious. I select it, and I change the font. Big deal. Say I want maybe Mistral. Whatever. That's a little bit harder to read, but it's a different mood, isn't it? I want another font. I'm not sure what I want. I'm going to come back up here again, and we have two new options. This one right here, if I click it, will show me just my Typekit fonts, and I have 3. If I want to get more fonts, this is just a filter for the ones you have. Click over here. Now it will take you to the Typekit site. There are thousands and thousands of fonts available here. So if you want to kind of start this process out by selecting more or less what you want, you can go into this area on the right. You say, well, you know what? I need a good reading font, and so I need a serif font. So you click here. And down here, not for web, just for desktop. And you can go through these options and change them to take thousands and thousands, if not tens or hundreds of thousands of fonts, and get them into a more manageable group. Now you come over here based on what we did, and we can look at what we have available. You say, well, I don't know, that one looks kind of interesting right there. You can come up here and click here and change them and look at them this way. I like looking at them this way because I get a better idea of what they're going to be for me. And I'm kind of curious about this one right here, so I select it. Just click. Now you've got weight and styles. You have specimens, so you can see it at different sizes. Type tester. Well, I've got specific words in mind here, so I'm going to come over here and I'm going to type in those words. I can change the size over here. You even have browser samples. Now, this is the way it would look if you were working in Chrome. You can click over here and get other browsers or other operating systems. We could spend an hour just talking about Typekit. But getting back down to it, if I get back over here, I say, you know what? I like it. I want to use it. Click Use Font here. Now, one of the things to remember is you have to have your account activated to make this work. Now, it is ready to sync over here. And if I click here, Sync Selected Fonts, it's going to tell me that they have to be done through the Creative Cloud. So if I click here to launch, it'll launch your Creative Cloud. And you can see I already have it open. I already have it running. And basically, if you didn't, there's a button right here to sync. And you click that button to turn it on, and you can see I've already got these 4 fonts, and it's already synced. If I come back out of here again, I don't need to be here anymore. I can click here, and I can close this. Now, if I come over here and click this button, there it is. And if I have it selected, I can choose it. You have, with Typekit, an almost inexhaustible wealth of fonts that you can use for web, paper, or just about anything that you want. Don't forget, if you are a member of the Creative Cloud, you do have access to Typekit.